Hello, amazing souls. Welcome to the Soul Vibe Insights Podcast, a show to demystify the soul, intuition, and the Akashic Records. We know a thing or two about the ups and downs of being on a spiritual growth plan and how to find the higher perspective, even when it seems like there isn't one. I'm your host, Maddie Hollingsworth.
And I'm your host, Emily Pearl. We've been professional intuitives and energy healers for over 20 years now. We believe each of us are on a unique path of growth and learning, and our intuition is meant to be our guide. The problem is, most of us have never learned how to use it. That's where we come in, helping you discover how your intuition works and the lessons your soul has chosen to learn in this life is what we're all about.
All right, y'all, let's jump right into today's show. Hello, amazing souls, and welcome to today's show. Emily and I are excited to be back with you again, and we want to dive into how learning to access the Akashic Records has changed our lives. I mean, we knew that it was going to change our lives, but we kind of want to share some of the unforeseen ways, the ways that we did not think about.
Yeah, and there are just so many ways that we did not expect that it would change our lives. So we are so excited to be talking about this and just sharing our experiences and how valuable this learning how to access the Akashic Records has been for us.
Yeah, like going into it, I knew it was going to deepen my spirituality. I was going to have more clarity with my intuitive gifts. I was going to learn how to read my soul record and then learn how to read other people's soul records. So I knew some things were going to change for me going in, but I didn't realize how much getting out of my own way was going to be had, how much getting out of my mind and into my intuitive heart would help me stop second guessing the decisions I was making, really doubting my intuitive guidance, all the overly critiquing my experiences in hindsight. You know, I didn't realize these things were going to shift in my life and be changed forever and for the better. You know, that was kind of unexpected. But we want to dive into some specificities on things that we just had no clue were coming our way.
For sure.
All right, honey, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, so we talked about this in past podcasts, and I mean, really, this has been the biggest life-changing way that the Akashic Records has helped us. But it helped us sell our house and break a record in North Carolina for the highest sale of a manufactured home. And at this time, when we were getting this guidance, we had been laid off of our jobs because the restaurant that we worked at closed completely. This was during the pandemic. So it was like, we just got a phone call one day and it's like, come get your shit. We're all fired. And we're like, what? Because it was like completely out of the blue. We had no idea it was coming. It was just like, all right, this is happening. And so, I mean, of course, the pandemic was kind of, off the charts and kind of mind-blowing for everyone. And everyone has had their own experiences as far as what happened, during the pandemic and how it affected them. But for us, it was just like, okay, all of a sudden we had no job and not only did we not have a job, but it was like we had no job to go back to either. So it was like we were completely just kind of wondering what are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do next? Like, we literally have no options. We have, like, reached the end of our rope.
I felt like I was in a boat without a rudder, just dangling in the breeze.
Yes, but let's move past all the the bad part, because being at rock bottom helped us we decided, okay, since we don't have a clue where we want to go from here, if we learn how to trust our intuition and, connect deeper with our intuition, then maybe we'll get some guidance that will help us move forward. Like, that was our logic. So a part of this was, okay, let's learn how to access the Akashic Records. And kind of things fell into place. Like, once we made that decision, it's like all of these things kind of fell into place and was like, oh, all right, this seems like a great next move. So we learned how to access the Akashic Records. And of course, we were like practicing all the time because we had all this time. And we kept getting like this nudge that's like, hey, you could sell your house and start traveling, because a little bit of backstory there. We've wanted to travel for a really long time. Like, we had been talking about it for like 10 years. We had been putting money towards it. We've been racking up, points on our credit cards towards travel. We had been like laying the groundwork towards this. So it was just kind of like, dun da da da, you could actually make this all happen, in less than a year if you sell your house. We loved aspects of our house, like we loved where our house was, but when we bought our house, we knew that it was not our forever home. And I mean, I can't even say it was like this home that we loved. It was our intention to start renting it out. Like, that's what we were planning on doing. So we never really had like this deep connection, this homey home, comforting feeling from our home, from this house. So it was like, oh, wait, we can sell it? And then we don't have to do all the repairs that it needs. And we're going to get we essentially doubled our money in less than 5 years of living there. Like, it was
More than doubled.
more than doubled our money. It was like completely mind-blowing that this could even present itself, especially in this like crazy pandemic time. But it was like,
there were some home prices going bonkers, but this wasn't happening in the manufactured home world.
yeah.
So this was kind of unfathomable for us until we started to get into this and into the details from the guidance we were getting and how much to ask for it and how much to sell and stuff. And we were just kind of like, all right, we're going with this. We're trusting this against the advice of our realtors who were not into our intuitive senses about selling the home.
Yeah. Yeah, they were, nervous that it was going to ruin their reputation if they put it on for too high. And the people were like, what the hell are you thinking? This house could never go for that, which is true, normally. But there were some kind of magical things about the house, mainly the property, because it was, it butt up to 90 acres of land. And I do miss all the animal friends that we had. That is like the only thing that I miss is the wildlife and the plants and the
Turkey babies every spring.
Yeah. So there are definitely things that I miss, but there was just but Maddie and I knew it was like way too much upkeep. I mean, this not sumac. What is it? Wait, is it sumac? That like goes crazy?
No, they call it the tree of heaven. It looks a lot like sumac that was popping up, but
I'm talking about the vines.
we had a lot of kudzu,
Kudzu,
and
that's the
wisteria,
word.
both
That's the
of
word.
those.
Yeah, of course, wisteria is beautiful, but it grows like crazy. And if you're not familiar with kudzu, it like literally chokes out trees galore. And like Maddie and I spent hours upon hours upon hours and hours and hours and hours, and I can keep on going, but you probably want me to stop saying hours at this point. But we spent so many hours like relieving the trees from the kudzu, and just so we put a lot of love and effort into the property. But we knew that as we, were getting older, we valued our time and our freedom, and it just wasn't how we wanted to continue to spend our time, because we knew it was going to be like a constant.
Oh, that's a forever fight.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah.
So anyway, we learned how to access the Akashic Records, and like within months, literal months, we started getting these little hints like, oh, you could sell your house and start traveling like you've been talking about for the last 10 years. And we're like, huh, what? And then it was like each time that we like access the Akashic Records, we would get a little bit more insight. Like, okay, you could get more money for the house if you redo the kitchen or paint this wall. And so we used all of our time to literally make the house so much nicer than when we lived in it. And it was kind of fun. We enjoyed doing all of that work. It was very, very, very frustrating at times. And it definitely was a lot of YouTube tutorials and teaching ourselves things, and in the end it really paid off. I mean, the Akashic Records gave us like some clear, distinct, like, look out for this. You were waiting for the cash offer. We're like, oh, really? Okay, a cash offer, sweet. You are waiting for someone to acknowledge the love that you put into this place. We're like, what? Okay, cool. And then it was like, okay, and this person is going to be associated with a nearby business. And so you will know that it's the person because they're going to be associated with this nearby business. And so it's going to be very important for them to be in this area because of that business. And we're like, okay. And sure enough, this person writes us a letter. They're the only person, A, that had a cash offer, and B, that wrote us a letter. And the letter literally talked about how much love we put into the place and how they could really tell that we put a lot of love into it. And then they talked about the nearby business, saying that they were moving there because they were going to start working there part-time. So it was like, what? Like, we got this information months before we even put our house on the market. And then we kept checking in because when you're working with future probabilities, it's not written in stone. So we kept checking in. Okay, are we still on track for this? Is this still correct? Yes? Okay. And then we just kept checking in, checking in. Maybe a little more obsessively than we could have, but...
Oh, I get obsessive. But, that's especially with something new. And, I mean, one of the first big things we're getting is sell your house. I mean, working in the Akashic Records and getting intuitive guidance and channeling in the records didn't give us baby steps.
Yeah,
it was like, by
true.
the way, here's one of the scariest things you could do coming out of the pandemic's only, a year old at that time. Sell your house. You should go nomadic and take off into the world and give up your home base. Sell your house. I'm just like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? This is, okay, yeah. But this feels good, but my mind is freaking out and full of
true.
stuff, but it felt right.
Yeah.
And this was part of the getting out of my own way and making decisions with my mind. I was learning a big one right away. Like I said, it wasn't breaking me in easy here at all, but we worked through our checklist of renovations to do that we could do ourselves. We were, keeping up. Hey, we've taken care of these two things. Are we on to the next? We're still on path. Anything else new that needs to be done? Okay, no, great. We're moving forward with the plan.
Well, at the same time, learning how to build a website on WordPress and trying to figure out all of this other stuff, but we're not going to go into that right now. But yes, it was intense. And you're right. That was kind of a ballsy move. I guess I just haven't really thought about it like that. But you're right.
I mean, that's how when I look back on it, it wasn't getting broken in easy. It was do one of the scariest things you could possibly do right now. Go for it. And
Yeah.
it was a big leap of faith. It was a big betting on ourselves.
It's funny to me, though, because at the time, sticking around there and going back to the same old seemed even scarier.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, just waiting for food and beverage to open back up
Yeah,
and find
which
new
took
restaurant
a year,
jobs
like
and
a
stuff.
year and a half.
Yeah.
So, yes. So that was the first way in which, I mean, and that's a pretty big, mind-blowing way that the Akashic Records helped change our life. And so, love, would you like to talk about the second one?
Yeah, I would definitely like to jump in with this and know that during the same time before we sold the house, probably one of in hindsight, the gifts of being laid off and being at home all the time was our beloved beagle, Lilu. She was getting old. She was 13. She was an old lady. She was an old queen bee kind of beagle.
But she was also sick too, which we had known about.
But we had all this time with her now, which was a big blessing.
It was amazing.
We knew that there was colon cancer. We had that confirmed from the vet. And she had been through a trio of surgeries actually when she was younger. And I was definitely hesitant with her age to put her under an exploratory surgery to see what was up. So, we were taking some time to kind of feel this out and see what was right. And we connected with Lilu, with her soul record and the Akashic Records, and just started to ask questions and receive guidance on, let's get ourselves out of the way. What does Lilu want? What's best for her? And not trying to make a decision from the mind of what's best, but let her soul guide us. Connect there in the records and get guidance from her soul. And from that, her soul confirmed that she's in more pain than she lets on. She was really good at masking it, but we started to see some signs.
Yeah, but I think that's like very prominent in hunting dogs too. They're very much like, I'm not in pain, I swear.
We found out that she also had tumors in her stomach. And I mean, within a couple weeks of doing some of this research with her soul and trying to formulate a plan, her stomach, the bump started to protrude out, and it was a very sensitive area for her. So we were getting like confirmation from some of the work we were doing. We knew that she wanted to have a peaceful passing. We knew that she wanted to be buried on the land. We lived in the same neighborhood. Her entire life was spent in 2 different houses in this one neighborhood near this big park she loved
Such a
in
cool
Asheville.
neighborhood for a beagle.
Yeah. Well, when she got loose, there was land to run around in. There weren't any
So
really,
much land.
no really, really busy streets. You didn't have to worry about a highway or anything like that or crazy busy streets. And there was lots of land for her to roam. And she was a sneaky bee. That's what we used to call her, Sneaky Bee, because she would, 3 different style of fences she learned how to get out of.
Well, we also go, oh, they're nasty.
Nasty girl. Yeah, because if you've ever had a beagle, you know the nastiest things in the world are like the greatest discoveries for them.
Yeah. Any kind of death, any kind of poop.
Yeah, they want to cover their scent up with anything and everything because they're hunting dogs.
Yeah, they're a very stubborn breed.
And so loving and sweet.
So loving.
But
so
so
sweet.
stubborn and so nasty. There's definitely the love relationship is you've got to be open for it all when you have a beagle. That's for sure. So as we're spending
Many baths.
yes, and many baths. As we're spending more time with her, and a few months had passed, and we checked in again, and with her soul record, and just is this what she wants? What's going on? Okay, what's the time frame look like? Because we've moved a few months closer to the original, and the time frame was still on, which was 7 months from then when we first checked in. I'm starting to check on dates, like specific dates, and I get 2 dates. And they're 2 weeks from her 14th birthday. And I remember going, well, can't you just wait until your birthday? And I just felt this energy and this big, and I was like, you're in pain and it's getting worse. Is this true? Yes. And I was like, okay. So 2 more weeks is too much? Yes. And I was like, so these are the maximum dates for longevity of our time together? Yes. And I'm like, well, you've given me a Monday and a Wednesday, and I'm going to choose Wednesday. I'm going to take those 2 extra days, girl. Okay. We also went through on what she wanted her last meal to be, what sort of treats she wanted. And I wasn't surprised that bacon was involved, but
For sure.
no chicken, no beef. She didn't want steak. I was kind of like, really? I'll get you tenderloin, girl. Like we can hook it up. Bacon, just bacon. I'm great with just bacon. Oh, and I love those peanut butter treats you always give me. Okay. So she literally wanted little pieces of bacon and peanut butter treats. She didn't want any particular cheeses or anything. She was happy to just get a little bit of cheddar cheese mixed in, a couple little nibbles of that. And it's like, okay, so that was kind of fun to go over what she wanted for her last meal, what she wanted for flowers to be around. She wanted red roses red specifically. And the blanket she wanted to be wrapped in, the one that she always snuggled in her bed, she wanted to be wrapped in that blanket. When the days came up, that Monday, and this is October, middle of October, and in Asheville, the middle of October could be 35 and ugly or 70 and beautiful. And this Monday was one of those. It was like 68, 70 degrees, blue skies, gorgeous weather. We went to the park. Our walks at the park weren't really walks anymore. A lot of times we just kind of hung out around the entrance because she loved to greet people. And she loved to get treats and hang out and sit in the shade.
Yeah, we'd have little picnics. Stop and sniffs, and then like little Lilu picnics.
Yeah, so we were doing that. So she just got to smell on a bunch of people and greet them and do what she loved to
Lick
do.
them.
Yeah, hang out. And then so many people would come by and just be like, "Oh my God, your little beagle's so cute. Can I say hi?" And I'd be like, "She would really? Do you see her tail right now? She would love it if you came and said hello." So she got to do that so much, which I think she kind of knew when I told her I'm going to choose Wednesday and get a couple extra days. She knew she'd get this day at the park and get to do what she loved to do and get treats and to meet people and hang out. And then Tuesday was like 45 degrees and rainy
Yeah, and windy.
and windy and just an awful day. But the rain did soften the ground. So when Wednesday rolled around, it was like 65 and blue skies. It was almost as pretty as it was on Monday, except all the rain had softened the ground. So when we dug her grave, it was kind of easy to break through the ground. I remember thinking that. Like, oh, this is a little bit easier than I thought. The ground's softer. I was like, oh, it rained like crazy yesterday. Wow. You set yourself up with a perfect day to hang out at the park, a day for us to hang inside and it rained, and then it made it easier for us to make preparations for you, and it's a beautiful day. And she just hung out and laid on the ground and watched us dig her grave.
Yeah.
Just chilled with us, happy.
I mean, she seemed, yeah, so happy, like prideful.
Yeah,
And
no,
of course,
exactly,
we were like
prideful.
destroyed.
Yeah, I'm bawling my eyes out digging her grave, and she was like prideful about it. That's the word, baby, for sure. And we finished that up, and we just walked around the property, hanging out, picking her up and crying, and hanging out and giving her treats and letting her sniff and chase a mole if she, she'd try to get at moles and sniff around on them. We just let her go wherever she wanted to go around the property and just hung out. And then a little bit before the lady came to help with the peaceful passing, we started giving her bacon and her little peanut butter treats, and we'd set up her bed and her rose petals, and she was laying in the middle of it. It was just beautiful. The Akashic Records and tapping into her soul helped it helped us to honor her in a way that I never would have ever saw coming when I learned how to access the Akashic Records, that it would help me honor my beagle, my fur baby, one of the greatest loves of my life. I just never saw that coming, that I would use the records in this way.
Yeah. It was amazing. She was amazing. I miss her so much.
Yeah.
But another interesting thing about the records is that now, when we go to the records, were you about to say this? Oh,
I
go
was.
ahead then. Go ahead.
Well, just when we go to the records and we have kind of our own little room set up, there's a doggy door. And, when I go, I'm just like, I ask for my Akashic Record spirit guides to be there. And then I usually just make a little, if any puppies want to show up and visit, that's cool too. And I mean, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 times, Lilu and Dougal, which was Emily's kind of soulmate dog, if you will. He had a peaceful passing.
Well, he wasn't kind of. He was
sorry.
definitely
You're
my
right.
soulmate dog.
I shouldn't have said kind of. He was the
That
soulmate.
I got when I was 19 and had till I was 34, I guess. Or I guess I was like 20.
But they often show up and hang out, and they're physically not with me, but I can feel them like giving me little licks and kisses, and I can feel their soft fur as I rub on them and love on them and stuff, and it's amazing that we connect with their soul quite often in that way.
Yeah, they usually greet me like right when I arrive, like out in the gardens.
Oh no, for me it's always in the room. They come busting
Yeah.
through that little doggy door, and yeah.
And it's so real, like to the point that I can feel them licking my face and tears will just stream down my eyes because of how real it is. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I've had some wild moments opening up soul records like that, but just to make a mention and like their energy comes in that way. Yeah, it's super, super cool and comforting.
Yeah, and like little nuances that I forget about their behaviors, because it's been, 9 years? 10 years now? Since Dougal passed away?
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years, and then
This March.
For Lilu, it's been, 4 years now?
It will be 4 next October.
Yeah, so it's like little nuances about their behaviors that I don't remember, because it's been so long, and then it's like surprises me. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that, because Dougal would always do this one tiny little lick on my hand. He wasn't much of a licker. Like Lilu would she would stick her tongue all the way down your throat if you let her. But Dougal, he was never like that. He would just do one little lick on my hand. And he always does that in the records. It's really cool. Oh, we're talking about puppies, and Aspen, the dog that we're keeping right now, she's like climbing in my lap. She's like, please don't cry. You got puppy right here.
Yeah, we've actually had Lilu and Dougal's show up and confirm how much they like Aspen too, and think she's a really good fit for us when we're taking care of her.
Yeah. Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
Okay, so the third thing that we just kind of like life-changing way that the Akashic Records has helped us is it's helped us make more sense of our lives and the traumas that we've endured.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think this is something that maybe I don't know. I can't really say that I expected this because I honestly didn't know what to expect. I was just like, whoa, I want to learn how to access the Akashic Records. It's something that I've wanted ever since I learned about Edgar Cayce in college, back in 2000. I wanted to learn how to access the Akashic Records. So I didn't really think much about what would happen because of it. I was just like, this seems really cool. I want to learn this. So to be able to, go to our soul's records and just make more sense out of things that have happened. And I mean, this really helped, with our Akashic Records Soul Journey Report too, like learning our life lessons and being able to put into perspective like how our life lessons have played out in our lives. And that definitely has helped us understand the traumas that we've endured as well. Because it's like, okay, now I can see how my life lessons or me wanting to learn this theme and this lesson in my life has played out like through this specific instance or these chain of events or this specific trauma. And I can't say that I have the higher perspective for everything because we don't get that. We don't get to have that in this lifetime at all times. But it definitely has helped me gain a higher perspective for a lot of things that I didn't have before, which has been very helpful. And it just kind of gives you like this sense of peace about things. Because when you can kind of learn the higher perspective about, okay, this is why this person came into your life and treated you like shit, or this is why you've had so much trouble finding work, or this is why you've had these relationship patterns and these issues. It really does help put things into a higher perspective and help bring more peace into your life and more understanding.
It's amazing what awareness can do in getting a higher perspective on situations. How much, like Emily said, how much peace it can bring to your life when you can have concepts or have the ideas or the understandings to wrap your mind around, and then you can take charge. You can get the power back from things that you might have felt that were out of your control. Certain limiting beliefs that kept popping up, certain patterns in your life that were on repeat. But once you know why, you can put an end to it. You can start to change and transform your life for the better, to have more meaningful experiences. And I know personally for me, going through the childhood traumas that I did, I struggled for a long time with, why me? Why did this happen? I was so young. Why did this happen to me? How could this possibly make any sense? What was the point in this? What's the point in these things happening to anybody? But to understand why I was having these experiences, the opportunity to break this cycle in my ancestors' DNA, to balance my own karma from past life experiences, helped me to find a little bit more peace with what I had gone through and then take the power back to understand, okay, I'm getting the understandings, I'm getting the awareness now. Well, okay, so how do I move forward? How do I accelerate my healing?
Yeah, getting the power back, that's huge.
Huge.
And I mean, so much of life, I think we're like, we put the blame out on someone else and we're like, okay, they did this to me. So that obviously means that I'm unworthy or I'm this way. But But that whole time, you're like letting them still have the power and the power over you. And being able to gain that higher perspective really does kind of put the power back in your shoes and allows you to see, some people are just dicks and they're going to act the way they act. And yes, there may have been some sort of pattern that you chose to learn or some sort of way that you maybe, helped create the environment for this to happen. But the way they treat you says way more about them than it does about you. But if you continue to take it on that it is all about you, then you are giving your power away. And so it really is about, realizing that you can't control other people's actions. I mean, never. You can never control anyone else's actions. And I mean, think about the times where you acted in a way that you were like, oh shit, I really wish I would have done that better. Sometimes we don't even have control, like full control over our own actions. So trying to control someone else's actions is just futile. But making someone else's actions mean something about you is really, very disempowering.
Well, it helped me find the learnings. What did I get from this experience?
Totally.
And get past the what happened to me and that was totally wrong or that was good or bad. And it just helped me like, well, what was the opportunity to learn? Have I grown? How did this shape me? What can I do now from it? This is the kind of perspective and higher perspective and awareness that has come through working with my own soul record in the Akashic Records, or working with each other's to help us make sense of it, or to work with someone else in this case. But it really just opens up the experience within the confines of your own soul. Not the totality of everything. You're getting intuitive guidance within your soul's record. So you're eliminating a lot of the noise, a lot of the outside influences, and down to, why did this happen to me? What did I learn from it? What opportunities for growth are here? How do I move forward? It's just helped me accelerate things. And like Emily said at the beginning, just make more sense of our lives and the traumas, the experiences that we've been through.
For sure. Let's go to a happier one.
Yes, let's move forward, and we'll piggyback off of the Akashic Records giving us the guidance and helping us with the little nuances of just what to do to sell our home. Well, after that, it's helped us live our dream of open-ended traveling for 3.5 years, a little over 3.5 years now.
But in a very purposeful way.
Totally. I agree, in a very purposeful way. And by using the Akashic Records and knowing what my soul wanted to experience and see, what was higher on the list of priorities of places to be. When you sell your home and your home base is gone and the world is your oyster, so to speak, or if you just want to stay in the country and drive around in your car, the entirety of the United States, and you can cross borders into Mexico and Canada. I mean, where are you going to go? What do you want to do? You may have some ideas. But when you start to get down to what state parks, what national parks are higher on the list of priorities to see, where do you want to go experience? What time of the year do you want to be there? The Akashic Records helped us to basically take this plethora of choices and whittle them down quickly. And as we've been working with the Akashic Records, we're developing more trust with our intuitive guidance. We're not second-guessing decisions, so we're making decisions quickly, and we're knowing, hey, this is in our highest good. This is where I want to go. We've looked at a few Airbnbs, or we've looked at several different home sits, and we let the records just whittle it down for us at that point.
Yeah, and we've been toying with lots of different ways to use it too. I mean, sometimes we're just like, all right, universe, you decide. We'll apply like through trusted house sitters. You apply to go to a certain place, to a certain home, to take care of their home and their animals. And so we'll just, apply for a couple and be like, all right, universe. Or we'll say we need this specific time frame, and then we want to go here or here. And then it's like the universe just kind of serves it to us up on a silver platter.
Yeah, that's really cool. When we just put forth the time frame and the area that we want, And if it's meant to be, something will open up, and then boom. Oh yeah, that month in this time frame, right here in Sedona. Here you go. There it is.
Well, that's a good segue for the next one, which we feel like this is an important one because we love Sedona. Well, I guess we should go just really quickly. So far, we have been all around the United States. We spent a month in Canada. We spent 2 months in Thailand on an island, Koh Samui. We've visited so many national parks, state parks. We've experienced changing climates. We've experienced a lot of very, very interesting things that we would not have otherwise, just staying in one place.
I have marveled at more Mother Nature in the last 3.5 years, easily more than the 45 years before that. It's not even close.
Yeah. And if you all don't know, Mother Nature is incredible. I know you all know.
She's the greatest artist there is.
Okay.
So one of the things that came up for us, and we're going to talk about Sedona. And I know at face value, if anybody's been there, you know how incredible Sedona is. It's
incredible.
Freaking amazing. So it's not like, wow, the Akashic Records told you to go to Sedona.
Right.
What big deal? I mean, but it was the plethora of choices we had with us, the plethora of different home possibilities. And it was finding this specific home, the people we met, the area of Sedona that it was in, versus other choices in Sedona and other areas that we could have went to instead. We, at this point, had been doing our Soul Journey Akashic readings for a few years. We didn't know who Dr. Michael Newton was. And one of the really cool things by taking this homestead in Sedona at this particular place and talking with the owners is they introduced us to a book called Journey of Souls that Dr. Michael Newton wrote. And he is a clinical hypnotherapist. He's no longer with us, but he was a clinical hypnotherapist, one of the forerunners of past life regression. And during a session, he actually accidentally slipped into, with one of his clients, in a regression into an in-between lifetimes. And up into this, past life regression is just thought, past life, you live your life, it's over, there's just gray, there's nothing, and then you have another life. No one ever found out how to tap into the void of what happens in between our human lifetimes. After 7,000 sessions, he takes his clinical studies and starts to write a few books. We had no idea that our Journey of Souls or Soul Journey Akashic readings and his book Journey of Souls were going to align with each other. We had no idea the validation that his work was going to do to our work. It blew our minds. The categories that we researched for people in their Akashic reading, and then the descriptors that he would use or his clients would use would line up perfectly at certain times with the same things that we were already researching and giving to our clients that their souls were doing in between their lifetimes. It was mind-blowing.
Yeah. I mean, we read, because there was only one book. And so we basically read it out loud to each other, just like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like our Akashic Records Soul Journey reports. Just validating a lot of the experiences that his, 7,000 clients plus, because he still continued to work with clients while writing the books. But I mean, he wasn't the only person that came to these conclusions. There were definitely some other people around the same time that were coming to these similar conclusions that there isn't this void in between our lifetimes. There's actually a lot of stuff that happens in between there. But just the fact that his work was really unique because he was just such a logical person. I mean, he had a really hard time wrapping his head around, this is the reality of what was actually happening. That's why he did over 7,000 of client cases before he was even willing to talk about the work that he was doing with people. And he was very systematic about his research with it. Each of his clients were literally like reciting similar things. I mean, they were, they may have different words for, their experiences, but it was literally like similar experiences that each of these people were experiencing during their hypnotherapy sessions when they were in between their lifetimes. It's what we actually do. It's how we ended up finding the past life regressionists that we trained under, because we were just so blown away by these books, because he ended up writing more than one, but it was in Sedona that we were, introduced to the journey of souls. But he was just so systematic about the way he approached all this information, and it was just really mind-blowing how all of these people had similar experiences. And they were able to, went for their life review. They went to the council of elders. Like I said, they have different names for the different experiences they had, but what they were experiencing and what they were, documenting were very similar. What they were detailing was very similar. It was just so cool.
Yeah, they're in between lifetime trainings, the little jobs they take on for spirit to help all of creation out. Literally, they would give names of the trainings that their soul had undergone, and they were the same names for the trainings that we look up for people. It was just pretty mind-blowing for us. Not that we needed validation that we were on the right path, or that what we were offering up for our clients was so valuable and just, kind of monumental to, break down what your soul does in between your lifetimes. It was just super cool that this guy had documented 7,000 cases. It just kind of, blew our minds a bit. And to think that we had this plethora of choices of other places that we could have been.
Yeah, in that moment. But we went to keep these two cats and meet this amazing couple. And I mean, it was just we're just sitting there, this couple, they're in their 80s. And they were so in it with us, in our conversations. No one was struggling to find words in these conversations. And we're talking about our work, and he's talking about what happens, in between your lifetimes. And he's like, oh, this is a really great book. And just so nonchalantly, hey, check this book out. And then we started reading it immediately and, pretty much finished it the next day, or maybe the day after. But we couldn't put it down.
It did not take us long to read it out loud to each other. That's very true. So that is another way that the Akashic Records just helped us make a choice in our travels that specifically brought us to a place that not only blew our minds for the sheer beauty and spiritual energy and that Sedona is, but led us to something that someone else had been documented that literally backed up all of our work. It was just, like I said, we mentioned it a couple of times, it's just kind of mind-blowing.
So I think we're kind of going to stop there. I mean, there are so many other ways that learning to access the Akashic Records has changed our lives, just with day-to-day decisions, being able to just have more peace in our decisions, and just being able to know what our next moves are and not stress over them as much as we used to, or worried about whether we are making the right decision or making the wrong decision. It's just kind of okay, I'm in the records. My guides say this is in my highest good. Okay. And then we just take the steps forward and go towards them. And it's been a much more peaceful experience for us. We've definitely, I'm not saying our entire life is just full of peace now and we never have any stress. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that we don't get caught up over our decisions or what is the right one and what is the wrong one. We know that moving forward in any kind of decision is better than indecision.
The amount of fear that I'm going to get it wrong that I used to live with, the vast majority of that's just gone. It's just nipped in the bud.
Yeah.
I
definitely agree with that as well.
I make decisions and have so much more peace with them. And I even understand that even if it's something in hindsight that didn't feel like the greatest experience, I can check in and realize, I was a little stuck in this area in my life. And that actually got some of that energy shook up and got me to move and make changes or to see that I needed that experience to move forward. So I don't judge things as much either. In hindsight, I just kind of know that this is in my highest good. Let's move forward. What's my next step? Okay. I'll work it out to the best of my ability. All right, what's my next step? Okay, cool. Let's keep on moving. Let's make this thing happen. It's just, there's so much more peace in my mind with my life, and to use my intuition and my access to the Akashic Records to help make these decisions has just changed my life in a massive, massive way. I wish I could, just download a little of the energy so you'd understand how much is different for me. If you know me, you would understand, but if you not, just take my word for it. My life is vastly different, and I am a much happier, much more at peace person than I have ever been in my life. And I greatly owe that, to myself to take the steps to do the things, but learning how to access the Akashic Records has been the biggest step and the tool that I use in my tool belt more than any other.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that as well. So if this stuff sounds really good to you and you're thinking, that learning to access the Akashic Records could really benefit you in your life, we are putting together a class. We are so excited about putting together this class. We've been making steps towards this for a long time. We have lots of written material. We have lots of outlines. We have slides made and a beautiful attunement to the Akashic Records recorded. So there has been a lot of effort put towards this beautiful class that we really are so excited about teaching. We don't have an exact date yet, but I know we are wanting to at least launch the beta course within, we said this month, but then Maddie really needed to go home to get to spend time with his family since his dad's been in the hospital. So if this is something that, really resonates with you and you feel like could really benefit you in your life, we would love to teach you all we know, because it's really been so life-changing for us. So we are putting together, a sign-up sheet. So if you get on our newsletter, you will definitely be notified about when it's going to be released and when the class is going to start.
There'll be a link to sign up for the newsletter in the show's descriptions. And I'm giddy about this. I started to kind of giggle and laugh when Emily was talking about it, and it wasn't that she was saying something funny. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
To be teaching.
Yeah, me too.
To share everything we've been through to help open someone else's eyes on how to use the records for their own personal empowerment.
Yeah, creating magic in their lives.
Yeah. It's going to be a trip, y'all. We're going to have a good time, and we're going to be a part of big transformations for each other.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible.
Well, I loved getting to talk about the Akashic Records with you today.
I loved getting to talk about it with you as well.
We hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will catch you on the flip side for another episode on the following Wednesday.
Yes, indeed. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.